On February 14, 2018, a gunman opened fire with a semi-automatic rifle at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, killing 17 people and injuring 17 others. Witnesses identified Nikolas Cruz, a 19-year-old former student at the school, as the assailant. Cruz fled the scene on foot by blending with other students. He was arrested without incident about an hour later in nearby Coral Springs. He confessed to being the perpetrator, and he was charged with 17 counts of premeditated murder and 17 counts of attempted murder. Police and prosecutors have not offered a motive and are investigating a pattern of disciplinary issues and unnerving behavior, but Cruz offered several motives for the crime. Cruz's killing spree is the deadliest high school shooting in United States history, surpassing the Columbine High School massacre that killed 15, including the perpetrators Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, in Colorado on April 20, 1999. The shooting came at a period of heightened public support for gun control that followed mass shootings in Las Vegas, Nevada and Sutherland Springs, Texas, in October and November 2017. In 2016 and 2017, the sheriff's office received a number of tips about Cruz's threats to carry out a school shooting. The FBI learned that a YouTube user with the username Nikolas Cruz posted a message in September 2017 about becoming a school shooter, but the agency could not identify the user. In January 2018, someone contacted the FBI tip line with a direct complaint that Cruz had made a death threat, but the complaint was not forwarded to the local FBI office. Following the massacre, the anger and frustration of Parkland student survivors intensified towards the perceived inaction of the Republican-dominated legislature on the wider issue of mass shootings and gun violence. The students founded Never Again MSD, an advocacy group that lobbies for legislative action on gun violence. On March 9, Governor Rick Scott signed a bill that raised the minimum age for buying rifles in Florida from 18 to 21. The legislation also established waiting periods and background checks for gun buyers. The law allowed for the arming of teachers who were properly trained and the hiring of school resource officers. So-called bump stocks would now be banned and some potentially violent or mentally unstable persons would be prohibited from possessing guns. The National Rifle Association immediately filed a lawsuit that challenged the federal constitutionality of the age requirement clause. After the shooting, the Broward County Sheriff's Office received widespread criticism for its handling of the police response, with much of the criticism being directed at Sheriff Scott Israel for not addressing loopholes that allowed Cruz to legally purchase a firearm despite his lengthy record of threatening behavior. Israel's deputies were also criticized for staying outside the school and not immediately confronting Cruz. Several police officers who responded to the scene later resigned, and new Governor Ron DeSantis suspended Israel in January 2019 largely as a result of his conduct in regard to the shooting and replaced him with Gregory Toney. A commission appointed by then-Governor Scott to investigate the mass shooting condemned the police inaction in the wake of the attack and urged school districts across the state to adopt greater measures of security, including the possibility of allowing educators and staff members to carry their own firearms on school property in order to prevent further attacks. In March 2019, shortly after the first anniversary of the shooting, 2 Parkland survivors committed suicide, a former student who graduated the year before, and a student who was enrolled in the school year. Officials renewed their efforts to provide mental health support to the school community and families and noted the long-term effects of such trauma. The shooting took place during the afternoon of February 14, 2018, at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, an affluent suburb about 30 miles northwest of Fort Lauderdale. The shooter, former student Nikolas Cruz, was dropped off at the school by an Uber driver at 2:19 p.m., shortly before dismissal time. According to a police report, Cruz was carrying a rifle case and a backpack when he was spotted and recognized by a staff member who radioed a colleague that he was walking purposefully toward Building 12. The first staff member claimed that his